My wealthy ex-husband laughed in my face when I refused his offer to be his personal assistant after he took everything in the divorce. "You'll come crawling back," he sneered, "because women like you can't survive without men like me." At his lavish engagement party, I walked up to his fiancée and said, "Before you say yes, let's talk about his secret bank accounts. Let me tell you a story about Nathan, the man I married, loved, and ultimately destroyed." Nathan wasn't always a monster. At least, not at first. When we met in New York City, he was already successful, one of those finance guys who seemed to have everything figured out. I was fresh out of college, still finding my way, and he made me feel like I was the most special person in the world. He was older, confident, and had a way of making everything seem effortless. Dinners at Le Bernardin, weekends in the Hamptons, spontaneous getaways to Paris. It was like something out of a movie. He told me I was the love of his life, that I made him better. I believed him. When he proposed, I said yes without hesitation. We had the wedding of the century at the Plaza Hotel, and for a while, I thought I was living a dream. Nathan encouraged me to quit my job in marketing. He said I didn't have to work, that I could focus on things that really made me happy. "We don't need two incomes," he'd say with a smile. "I'll take care of us." It sounded romantic at the time. I didn't realize it was the start of something much darker. At first, I didn't notice how much control Nathan had over everything. The accounts were in his name. The credit cards he gave me were his. He made all the financial decisions, and if I asked questions, he'd brush them off. "This stuff stresses you out," he'd say. "Just trust me." And I did. Then, little things started happening. I noticed how condescending he was when I talked about my opinions. He started making jokes at my expense in front of his friends. "She doesn't get finance," he'd say, laughing. "She's more into yoga and brunch." If I got upset, he'd act like I was overreacting. "Come on, babe. You know I love you." At some point, I stopped arguing. It was easier to let him win than to deal with the fights. Years went by. We had a perfect life on the outside, a penthouse in Manhattan, a vacation home in Aspen, a car collection Nathan was obsessed with. We had everything. Except I wasn't happy. Nathan barely paid attention to me anymore. He was always on business trips, always distracted, always somewhere else. And then I found out why. Nathan was cheating. Not some one-night stand. Not some meaningless fling. He had a whole second relationship with a woman named Sophia, a 25-year-old model who was exactly the type of woman he used to make fun of. I found out when he left his phone at home one day. He never let me touch his phone, so I knew something was off. The moment I picked it up, I saw the messages. "I can't wait to spend the weekend with you. She doesn't suspect a thing. You're so much more fun than my wife." I thought I was going to be sick. When he came home that night, I confronted him. He didn't even deny it. Instead, he looked me dead in the eye and said, "She makes me feel young again." That was the moment something inside me broke. I wanted out. Immediately. I thought the divorce would be fair. 10 years of marriage? I figured I'd get my share. Nathan had other plans. His lawyers were sharks. And because everything was in his name, they made it seem like I was entitled to nothing. The house? His. The cars? His. The savings? Somehow, his. I walked away with a pathetic settlement. Just enough to rent a tiny apartment in Queens and survive for maybe a year. Nathan, on the other hand, he was celebrating his freedom with lavish trips and expensive gifts for Sophia. And me? I was starting over at 35 with no job, no savings, and a resume with a 10-year gap. I was drowning. A few months later, I got a call from Nathan. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the best of me. "I have an offer for you," he said, voice full of fake concern. "I need a personal assistant. You know my habits better than anyone. The pay is decent, and I know you're struggling." I was speechless. This man cheated on me, took everything, left me with nothing, and now he wanted me to be his assistant? When I didn't respond, he chuckled. "You'll come crawling back," he said. "Women like you can't survive without men like me." I hung up. Then I cried harder than I ever had in my life. Because as much as I hated him, he wasn't wrong. I was barely surviving. And then, something happened. One night, I ran into David, one of Nathan's old friends. David always liked me, and unlike the rest of Nathan's circle, he had zero loyalty to him. Over drinks, he casually mentioned something that made my blood run cold. Nathan had been hiding money for years. Millions. Offshore accounts. Hidden investments. Shell companies. Money he had during our marriage. Money he never disclosed during the divorce. Money I was legally entitled to. I acted casual, but my mind was spinning. For the first time in months, I felt something other than hopelessness. I felt rage. Nathan thought I was weak. That I had nothing left. That I was just some helpless ex-wife he could laugh at. He had no idea what was coming. I spent the next 2 months doing something Nathan never thought I was capable of. I learned. I learned how to track money, how shell companies worked, how the ultra-rich hid their wealth in offshore accounts and foreign assets. I read legal cases, consulted online forums, and even reached out to a few financial professionals who hated men like Nathan. And slowly, I started putting the pieces together. Nathan thought he had outsmarted me, that I would just disappear, broke and defeated. But what he didn't know, I still had access. Buried deep in my old emails, I found old financial statements, business contracts, and even some questionable wire transfers that didn't add up. Nathan had been lazy. He never expected me to look. He was careful, but not careful enough. I made copies of everything. And the more I found, the clearer it became. Nathan had committed fraud. I knew I needed proof that someone else would take seriously. If I went straight to the IRS or a lawyer, Nathan's army of legal vultures would bury me. I had to be smart. So I reached out to Sophia. It was risky as hell. She was still engaged to Nathan, still living the life I had lost. But she was also his weakness. Nathan worshipped the idea of Sophia, young, beautiful, the perfect trophy. If I could get her to doubt him, even a little, she would become my best weapon. I sent a single message. Before you say, yes, let's talk about his secret bank accounts. She read it instantly. Then, silence. I waited, and waited. Then, after 3 days, she responded. Meet me. Tonight. No one can know. I met Sophia at a high-end bar in Soho, the kind of place Nathan used to take me when he wanted to show off. She walked in looking like she had everything: designer dress, flawless makeup, a diamond ring the size of a golf ball, but up close, I could see it. The hesitation. She was already doubting him. I didn't waste time. I pulled out a folder and laid it on the table between us. Your fiancé has millions hidden in offshore accounts, I said. Money he didn't tell the government about. Money he didn't tell me about when we got divorced. She just stared. I kept going. He made sure I walked away with nothing. And when I started looking into it, I realized why. He's been lying to everyone, including you. Sophia reached for the folder with shaking hands. She flipped through the documents, bank transfers, company records, a Swiss account he thought no one would ever find. She turned white. Then she whispered, "How do I know this is real?" I slid my phone across the table. Opened a saved email. This is a confirmation of a wire transfer he made to a bank in the Cayman Islands while we were still married. That money should have been part of our divorce settlement. Silence. Then, Sophia did something I wasn't expecting. She laughed. Not a happy laugh. Not even a relieved laugh. It was cold. Like something inside her just snapped. She took a slow sip of her drink, then looked me dead in the eye. I knew he was hiding something, she murmured. But I thought it was just another woman. Oh, this was better than I thought. Because now? Sophia wasn't just listening. She was angry. And then she leaned in. And whispered something that changed everything. Nathan proposed to me with your ring. I felt like I had been punched. That diamond ring, the one he promised was custom-made, the one he claimed he had specially designed for me, was now on her hand? I should have seen it coming. Nathan never wasted money when he didn't have to. Sophia twisted the ring on her finger, watching me. I asked where he got it, she continued. He told me it was from an ex who didn't deserve it. An ex who didn't deserve it. I forced myself to stay calm. Are you going to marry him? I asked. Sophia smirked. Oh, I'm going to do much worse than that. And just like that, I knew. I wasn't in this alone anymore. I left that bar with my heart pounding. I had gone in expecting to shake Sophia's trust in Nathan. Maybe even make her call off the wedding. But what I walked away with? Something better. She wasn't just angry, she wanted revenge. And that made her dangerous. 2 days later, I was at my tiny apartment in Queens, eating instant ramen, when there was a loud knock at the door. I wasn't expecting anyone. When I opened it, my stomach dropped. Standing there, looking wildly out of place in my rundown hallway, was Sophia's father. Robert Ellington. Billionaire. Ruthless businessman. The kind of man who could ruin lives with a single phone call. And he was staring at me like I was a very interesting problem he needed to solve. May I come in? He asked, his voice calm. I didn't have a choice, did I? I stepped aside, and he walked in, looking around my tiny, sad apartment like it physically hurt him to be there. Then, without any small talk, he said, "My daughter told me what you found." I didn't breathe. He sat down on my couch, his expensive suit somehow not picking up any of the dust my cheap furniture had collected. I know men like Nathan, he continued. I've dealt with them my entire life. Self-important, greedy little bastards who think they're the smartest people in the room. I stayed silent. Then he looked me right in the eye. I don't care about the cheating. Sophia can handle herself. But financial fraud? He leaned forward. That affects me. And I don't let people steal from my family. I swallowed. I don't have hard proof yet. He held up a hand. I don't need you to have proof, he said smoothly. I just need to know where to start. I exhaled slowly. You want to take him down, I said. I want to destroy him. Over the next week, everything changed. Sophia played her part perfectly. She acted like nothing was wrong. She played the happy fiancée, smiled at all the right people, and pretended like she was still madly in love with Nathan. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, her father was digging into everything. He had teams of people, financial analysts, forensic accountants, lawyers who specialized in finding hidden money. And me? I gave them everything I had. The old emails, the documents, the little pieces I had gathered over the years without even realizing their true value. And then, just when I thought I had Nathan figured out, another secret came crashing into my lap. The other woman. The real one. It was 2 weeks before the engagement party when I got a call from an unknown number. I almost ignored it. But something told me to pick up. And when I did, a woman's voice, shaky, nervous, whispered, I don't know who you are, but I think we've both been screwed over by the same man. My stomach flipped. Who is this? I asked. A long pause. Then, my name is Tessa, she said. And I have a son. Nathan's son. What? The hell? Tessa wasn't just another affair. She had been with Nathan for years, longer than Sophia. Longer than I ever knew. And the worst part? Their son was almost 5 years old. 5 years. Which meant Nathan had been cheating on both of us for half a decade. I couldn't even speak. But Tessa? She was done being silent. He promised to take care of us, she said bitterly. He pays for the apartment we live in, but he barely sees his own child. And now I hear he's engaged to some rich girl. She let out a short, humorless laugh. I want him to pay. And just like that, my plan got bigger. Now, we weren't just dealing with fraud. We were dealing with a hidden child. And I knew exactly where to drop that bomb. The night of Nathan's big, fancy engagement party, everything was set. Sophia was ready. Her father was watching. Tessa was waiting. And me? I was going to walk into that ballroom like a woman who had nothing to lose. Because once I was done, Nathan's entire world was going to come crashing down. Nathan's engagement party was obnoxious. Held at the Metropolitan Club, it was dripping in luxury, crystal chandeliers, white-gloved servers carrying trays of champagne, a live string quartet playing some pretentious classical piece. The kind of place where money talked. The kind of place where Nathan thrived. I wasn't supposed to be there. Not officially. But Sophia? Oh, she made sure my name was on the guest list. And she wasn't the only one. Tessa was there, too. Waiting. Watching. Nathan was in his element. Laughing, shaking hands, making sure every single person in that room knew he was winning. He spotted me from across the ballroom. And smirked. Like I was just some pathetic, bitter ex-wife who couldn't stay away. Like I was jealous. He had no idea. Not yet. The guests were buzzing with excitement, waiting for the big moment. Nathan's toast, his grand speech about love, success, and the perfect future he was about to have with Sophia. Except this time, he wouldn't be in control of the narrative. Because I was about to set it on fire. I made my move just as the waiter handed Nathan a microphone. Before he could speak, I turned to Sophia, loud enough for everyone around us to hear, and said, I wonder if Nathan will mention his secret child in his speech. Dead silence. Every single head snapped toward me. Nathan froze, the microphone halfway to his mouth. Sophia's father, Robert, set down his champagne flute very slowly. And Sophia? She just smiled. Like she had been waiting for this. I stepped forward, heart pounding but voice steady. I mean, come on, I continued, tilting my head. It's a huge life event. Don't you think your guests should know about your 5-year-old son? Gasps. Whispers. A few people even laughed, thinking it was a joke. It wasn't. Tessa stepped into the light. And suddenly, no one was laughing anymore. Nathan lost it. You need to leave, he hissed, storming toward me, voice low but full of barely contained rage. Now. But it was too late. Because Tessa? She wasn't silent anymore. You told me we didn't matter, she said, her voice shaking but loud enough for the whole room to hear. You said you'd fix things, but instead, you're here pretending like we don't exist. Nathan's entire body tensed. People were staring, whispering, pulling out their phones. Then Sophia took a step forward, her eyes cold. You proposed to me with your ex-wife's ring, she said, her voice slicing through the room like a knife. Another wave of gasps. Nathan whirled on her. Sophia, not here, oh, I know, she interrupted. I know everything. She held up her hand, still wearing my old engagement ring. Then, without hesitation, she took it off and dropped it into her untouched champagne glass. The sound of it clinking against the crystal was the only thing anyone could hear. Nathan's face crumbled. Because for the first time ever, he was losing control. He turned to Sophia's father, desperate. "Robert, this isn't what it looks like," but Robert just stared at him, his face blank. Then he said 6 words that ended Nathan's entire world. "The wedding is off. We're done." And just like that, Nathan's golden ticket, his cushy future, his powerful in-laws, the connections he needed to keep his business afloat, disappeared. His whole face fell. He looked at me, panicked now, like I was supposed to save him. And I just smiled. Because he deserved this. Every single second. Nathan tried to salvage the situation. Tried to talk his way out of it. Tried to control the damage. But there was no coming back from what just happened. His business partners started backing away, literally and figuratively. Guests whispered behind their hands. People were already texting, recording, and by the time Nathan realized what was happening, it was too late. Security escorted me out. Not that I cared. Because the damage was done. A week later, the investigation started. Turns out, Robert had already tipped off the authorities. The IRS came knocking. Nathan's accounts? Frozen. His business? Under audit. His name? Ruined. And Sophia? She was more than happy to testify. Nathan tried to contact me. First, with rage, threatening lawsuits, demanding I take back everything I said. Then, with pathetic begging, saying I was the only one who understood him. I ignored him. Then, one final message: "You've destroyed me." I smiled. Because good. He destroyed me first. And now? I was free. I won't lie and say it was easy. Starting over at 35, rebuilding my life from scratch, it was brutal. But I learned something important. I was never the weak one. Nathan made me believe I couldn't survive without him. But in the end, he was the one who couldn't survive without me. And that was the best revenge of all.